Tune your car here, man. This is my first video and I'm going to show you guys me repairing my 2013 Chevy Camaro LS. Right now I'm going to be doing a valve cover change and spark plug and coil change. So just follow along with me. I'm going to be showing you guys step by step, and yeah, we'll be good to go. So I do want to talk about right here, this front hose right here. I did break it and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to repair that as well. So let's get along with it. This is the hose right here that broke for me. I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to repair it, and it's actually a really good repair, so be ready for that. As you can see, I cut off the extra tubing that was on here, so we just have the connector that went inside the hose here. As you can see, I'm showing you here. So here is more vacuum tubing, and you want to make sure this clip here stays inside of this tubing. It goes right here on this vacuum sensor thingy here. So I took out the coils to the spark plugs and the plugs to the evap and map sensor right here. I also took out the hose clamp right here as well. You want to loosen these bolts up. It's about 6 bolts, so you want to make sure you loosen those up, and you want to get everything disconnected and make sure it's ready. Now that I got those screws taken out, as you can see there, 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. And then this little bolt back here, you can't take this bolt all the way out, but you'll know it's loose when it comes up like that. So you pretty much just lift up on the intake manifold, but I have to do it off camera because I'm only by myself. Now that we have this off, we're gonna set it here upside down. We don't want it sitting on the metal part where it would sit on the other part of the intake manifold. So we got the throttle body off with it. We don't need to take it all off. Once you get this off, some of you, if you have 100K miles or higher, you're gonna have to replace this gasket right here. Mine has already been replaced, so I don't need to replace it. I already did that a couple weeks ago, so we're gonna go ahead and look at all the other stuff that needs to be took off around the valve covers right now. So as you can see, I unplugged a lot of plugs from the wiring harness right here, and even the plugs right here on the side of the valve cover. You have to take that apart and take it off, all those plugs. Even the reservoir right here to the power steering needs to be unbolted and taken off of the holder for itself, because it's all in the way of taking out those electrical connectors right here. So once you get all these things disconnected and you get free space from the gasket, you know you're able to take the valve cover gasket off and it's ready. So right here, you want to make sure you have a towel to put over your flathead just to pry in between this valve cover, because you don't want to dent or bend the metal or scratch the metal. Mine was kind of already up because I already did a little bit of prying, but I'm doing it one hand. So alright, once you got the valve cover off, you can see right here, just go ahead and remove the gasket that still may be on there. It might be on your valve cover, either or, just make sure it's removed. And as you can see, it's all dirty and old, so we're going to get this replaced. While you're here, you might as well just check your timing chain. Make sure it's tight. Make sure it's not super loose, because if so, you're going to have to do a timing chain job since you're already here. So luckily, we don't have to do that, and it's all tight, and it's good to go. It's nice and timed. And look at your motor. Look at the cams and stuff like that. It all looks pretty clean. I love it. And make sure you put a towel over the intake manifold, because you don't want debris getting in here when you start cleaning off the edge of the motor. So when you wipe this, you want to make sure you wipe it away, like towards the towel, not inside the cams. You don't want it inside there. You don't want dirt getting in there. So wipe away like you just seen. Wipe it towards the towel, get all the dirt out, not in. All right, we got the cover off, so we're going to take off these seals here for the spark plug. Pretty simple to take these off. Just get a flathead in there and just bang it out with a hammer. I am going to try to show you guys this, but I am doing it by one hand, so you kind of got to bear with me a little bit. I'm trying to show as much as I can, and you just knock it from the backside. It's the edge of the coil and you'll see it. And installing these are much easier. You just get a little oil on the edges, lubricate it, and push it in by hand. If it's not going in flush, I will show you how to do that now to get it in nice and flush, so don't worry about that. Just get an old gasket, line it up, and hit it with a rubber mallet. These are metal gaskets, so they won't bend or break. They're going to go straight in for you, so you'll be good. Compare your new gasket with your old gasket, make sure it matches up and everything. And put the gasket inside the valve. Put a little RTV on these edges to make sure it holds itself into place and it won't fall out during install, because you don't want that. Give that a couple minutes to dry. Alright, and you guys see on both of the RTV points, I put new RTV and took off the old RTV. You could just wipe it off or use a plastic thing to scrape it. Alright, so we basically got the cover back on and the screws are still loose, but you'll know it's in because these holes right here, it will snap into the spark plug holes with the seals and you'll feel it go into place. So I'm going to start with the other side and I'm going to make sure everything's taken apart, same as the other side. Take off this bracket that's attached to the valve cover. Loosen all the wiring harness as much as you can. This seems pretty good to me. You don't need to remove this fuel line right here. It can stay intact and the valve cover can come off. The rest of this wiring harness does not need to be removed. Just move it out the way. As you can see, I'm about to try to take this off as is, as everything is set up just like this with this hose right here and the wiring harness right here. It's not in the way. You just got to slip a socket in there just to get past this wiring harness on the side, but it's not in the way of taking off and putting it on because it's above it just a little bit. We could slide it right from under there and just save us a lot of work. We don't want to do more work and take more things apart, so let's get it. As you can see, use an extension, slide it in there to get it loose. Use a long extension for it. These screws here on the side, you're going to need a short extension to get these out. I'm going to show you. This bolt here, right there, and the bolt right above it right there, right here, you're going to need a short extension for it. Successfully got the valve cover off without moving any of that wiring harness or taking off that fuel line, so I know you guys can get it done. It was not a hassle. Just make sure all the screws are loosened and make sure everything is properly loosened and it should come straight out. If it's not coming straight out, a screw is still in there. Make sure it's all out. You see the old RTV points here and there's another RTV point over here, and you want to make sure you remove both those old RTVs, and there's no more RTV points over here. You just want to make sure and double check. Once again, with the seal, as you can see, you put the flathead on the edge of the seal and you want to bang out the back of this flathead to get it out. Got my boy to record me because nobody was trying to help me. So as you can see, I'm just hitting it. You might get a little tear. Just go to a good side of the gasket and just keep hitting until it comes out. As you see, it just popped out right there. And just like that, we easily got out this seal and we're going to replace it. Same thing for the other side. We get the RTV, put it on the points. Make sure you get good amount of RTV so it'll give you a little seal on those cracks of the motor. Same thing for the other side. We got the RTV nice and applied. Getting the cover back on was as easy as taking it off. Just make sure you slide it the same way you took it off. Pay attention to what you're doing. It's really, really simple and it was an easy job. Said you're going to need this extension with a 10mm and this short extension here with another 10mm, and you'll be able to get all those screws off. I want to kind of get these kind of pliers to take out those electrical connectors because they were hard. Especially here at this bottom angle, you're going to need these pliers to get to that. So here are the new coils, and it has a screw with it that's brand new. Thank the Lord, I love this and stuff. We're going to compare it to the old one. It's the same length and it's the same plug, so we are good. This old one is shot, the boot is shot, and the screw is shot, so I'm happy for this. We have our new spark plugs and everything, so we are good to go. 16mm socket or SP. Make sure you have a magnet to get your spark plugs out because you're going to need it for that. Out with the old, in with the new. This looks really good. You don't have to do this, but I keep a vacuum on me with a tube connected to a straw to get in there and clean these spark plug holes before you take it out. It might be dirt in there, so. Now we're going to go ahead and install our coils. Hand tighten the screw. Do not impact this. As you can see, we're hand tightening with a wrench. Do not impact. I know you guys are lazy to impact, but don't do it. Plug it all back in. Make sure it clicks. And put this clip back into place so it will stay locked in. We have all the clips now installed on this one side, so it's time to put everything back together on this side. Same thing for the other side. When we put the coils in, we're going to plug those up now. All right, so everything is back plugged in. On this side, we have everything on the wire harness. Make sure we plug that all in, hook this back up to the valve cover. This is to the throttle body. So we are good to go with installing the intake manifold. This side, everything is good except for this reservoir. We're gonna install that with the bracket right here as you've seen. And we should be good for the intake manifold to go on. All of these screws are not the same size on this intake manifold, so make sure you pay attention to that. This one screw right here is very shorter and it goes in the back of the intake manifold like that, like I showed you in the beginning, the one that cannot come all the way out. It has a blue dot on it. Luckily, so whoever did this in the past, they marked it. The rest don't have marks, so we know that's the one and we're good to go. Intake manifold installed. We got it all hooked up and we're gonna make sure it's nice and tight. Make sure everything is plugged up around your wiring harnesses and intake manifold. Make sure you do not forget anything around here. Make sure you plugged everything back up. All right, we're gonna install this vacuum line that went around the back of the brake booster and the intake manifold. It connects right here and it goes around the motor around the back side and connects over here. As you can see, it connects there and there. So we're gonna get that ready to install. Okay, we put the tube on, didn't tighten the bracket yet, but same for the other side, didn't tighten the bracket on. Make sure you put those brackets on. Okay, we got our clamps on the tube, so you know those aren't coming off. Make sure you put this tube inside this plastic clip so it'll hold into place and you're good. This here goes to the intake, so make sure it's facing towards the intake like that. We put our evap sensor on. Hopefully I'm saying it right. That's the evap sensor. And we made sure everything around here is connected and replugged back in for sure. Put our air filter in this hole right here because my brackets on the side are broken, so this holds it into place, right? Boom, goes ahead and pop in like that, and that's gonna hold into place. So now we're going to put the air intake together. This easily slides onto the throttle body and the air intake. We have a torn vacuum hose here, so make sure you guys check all your vacuum hoses because they do tend to rip under heat. Go ahead and put that back on. We're gonna shoot to AutoZone and grab a cheap little hose to re-put on that end of the vacuum here. So put that on the intake. Make sure this backside is connected, as I told you, and we are good to go. We're gonna get a new hose for this backside, so don't worry about that, guys. Now for the broken hose that was on the intake manifold, we're gonna fix that now. Make sure you plug in your mass airflow sensor into the intake because it will throw check engine. Now we have this tube here that I found in my garage. This is gonna get me to AutoZone to buy a better tube that can fit for vacuums. It fits perfectly on this side, nice seal. Same thing with the other side where it connects onto the tubing. It's a nice seal right there. So we're gonna go ahead now and install this because you can see it's nice and sealed. This tube was too soft to use, so I'm gonna head to AutoZone and get a nice, stronger vacuum tube of the same size that can fit on the same way, and this is gonna have my problem fixed. But at the end of the day, I wanna thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Leave a thumbs up and subscribe.